premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.
Welcome back to another great episode of Tony's Takes, live right here on YouTube for the best show in sports talk radio. It is Tony's Takes, and of course, I am not alone in the studio. Sitting next to me is my co-host, Jimmy D. Jim Jam, welcome back.
Thanks, Tony. What's up? How you doing?
You know what is up. What is up is the fact that the 76ers, through early turmoil, have come out and beaten the very formidable Washington Wizards. Jim, I know that the Washington Wizards, they had you worried, no doubt.
Actually, you know what? They kind of surprised me a little bit. They are more formidable than other people would think, and we'll get into that a little bit in the show.
That is right, and some of the topics that we will be covering today on Tony's Takes. First of all, they begin with the Philadelphia 76ers and the Joel Embiid injury as well. The 76ers overcoming the Washington Wizards and how they're going to look forward with what a torn meniscus could what a torn meniscus could possibly do to the team overall. Clearly, we're seeing it with the Lakers, we saw it with the Suns, and now we're seeing it with the Sixers. Teams need their best player in order to win in this league, and when Anthony Davis or Chris Paul or Joel Embiid go out with an injury, it really puts into doubt the future of that team and where they're going to go from a playoff and championships perspective. But once we get done talking about the Philadelphia 76ers, of course, we will then move on to the overall playoff picture, and we're also going to really hone in on the Boston Celtics. With the break, I was texting Mike from Rhode Island, avid fan of the show, about the recent news of general manager Danny Ainge leaving the organization of the Boston Celtics, retiring, and Brad Stevens, one of the youngest, most, up and coming, I would say, Jim, coaches in the NBA, becoming the general manager of the franchise and stepping away from coaching at only age 40 and with no national championships, or NBA type championships is a better word to use for that. And speaking of retirement, Coach Mike Krzyzewski has finally retired from Duke, and we're also going to talk about that. And then finally, to wrap up the show, Jim, you know how it goes, talking Phillies and pulling out our hair in the meantime as that goes on.
As you boldly predicted many weeks ago.
What did I say, Jim? Many weeks ago. I want to be excited for the first few games of the Philadelphia Phillies, and I can't even have that because we all know that the mainstream corporate media won't let Tony and Jim on the main airwaves. The FCC won't give us a license because every one of Tony's picks has come true, no doubt. And what did I say about the Phillies? What did I say about the Phillies, Jim?
You said we'd have all this excitement to start the season, and then come August and September, we're going to be pulling our hair out. And we're pulling our hair out in June. So
yep.
Christmas came early.
Yes. My prediction came faster than I needed it to. But that's fine. I'm just getting proven right earlier and earlier. And then on top of all of that, I think, Jim, I really think the Mike Krzyzewski thing might be the biggest one in the news in regards to the reflection on college basketball. You know, we talk about college basketball so much here at Tony's Takes, just you and me. And I write about college basketball. Mike Krzyzewski, Roy Williams, soon to be Jim Boeheim. These are giants in the college basketball industry, and they're all leaving. And I think it has more to do than just age. The game has clearly changed in college basketball, And that's something we're going to talk about later in the show. But first, before we get into today's opening monologue, let's cover the basics and what needs to be done. I need you, the listener, to subscribe to this show on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search Tony's Takes. And if you're listening to us right now on YouTube, this show is live currently. Go and hit the subscribe button and double click the notification bell. We were growing in subscribers and we have plateaued a little bit. If you're listening to us recorded version every week, you should really come and listen to the YouTube live version. It is a better experience. You get to engage with us. We read the chat. It's really a lovely experience. And so please come to YouTube, subscribe to our channel, double click the notification bell. In addition, if you're listening to us on YouTube and you miss a couple weeks because you can't make it at 7 o'clock, you got dinner, and you didn't know about the recorded version, go over to Apple Podcasts, search Tony's Takes. It's the same logo that you see for our YouTube stream, and subscribe there. Leave a 5-star review and a written review with your 5-star review, and it will be guaranteed to be read on the show. And finally, follow us on Twitter at Tonys_takes. Once again, that's Tonys_takes. Okay, Jim, time to dig in to the Sixers win. You like that?
Yeah.
Little rhyme. Remember when I did slam poetry for a while?
I don't know why you stopped.
I wonder that sometimes too. For slam poetry is one of my many skill sets. And Jim, I'm filling in right now as I pull up the scoreboard from last night's game. Jim, did you watch the game last night?
Oh, of course.
I mean,
of course
it's the sky blue. Of course, I know that you would watch it. But before we talk about last night's game, I think we got to rewind to the meniscus tear. I think that's the first thing that comes to our minds. So let me start off by saying this. We will not win a championship without Joel Embiid being healthy.
Agreed. We
will not be a team who gets to march down Broad Street without the best player in basketball this year. Period. End stop. He was the MVP candidate. He was, without an injury, he would have won the MVP. He is the best player right now in basketball because it ain't LeBron who's walking out on teams, and we'll talk about that later, who's walking out on his team halfway through a pivotal Game 5. No, Joel Embiid is the best player in the NBA right now, June 3rd. And yet, again and again and again, we Sixers fans, because I'm a Sixers fan, continually hype ourselves up, continually get excited for a team, and we should. How many times did I say over the last 5 weeks, we got a real winner, we got to be confident. And the games against the Wizards, for the last 3 of them, the first 3 in these series against the Wizards, man, did we look like a confident team. We were taking care of business. People like Bill Simmons were saying the Wizards are a tricky first-round team. Zach Lowe, the Wizards are a tricky first-round team. And you know what the Sixers said? No, they're not. No, they're not. Tobias Harris is going to score and be able to score every game, and Tobias has played phenomenal during these playoffs. Ben Simmons is going to play the best defense in the NBA. He should be Defensive Player of the Year, and he's going to put people in the penitentiary. Got to lock him up and lock him down, and he's done that. And Joel Embiid is going to be the number 1 option every night. If you're watching these games over the last 3 of them, they are hacking away at Joel Embiid. Hacking and hacking and hacking. The Wizards are bringing... I didn't even know they had 4 centers on their roster. They have brought out every center possible. Brook Lopez is doing his darndest to stop Joel Embiid. And they can't. Not when he's healthy. These players cannot stop Joel Embiid when he's healthy. So what do they do instead? They injure him. Now, I'm not saying it was on purpose. We could never prove, let me state that, we could never prove that they did anything like this on purpose. But it's really convenient because all of a sudden, the team who has to throw 4 centers at him wins the game the minute Joel Embiid goes out. No problem. Literally dismantling the Sixers the minute Joel Embiid walked off the court. It was a blessing in disguise for the Wizards. And it was quite sad to see, knowing that me and Jim have talked about this. I've texted friends about this. We were genuinely excited. And the first 3 games proved that our excitement was valid. Oh, yes, finally, this team we should be so excited for. We're literally so, the Bucks and the Nets, they're not struggling with teams, but you look at the West and you're like, sheesh, the Lakers are struggling, absolutely struggling to get out of the first round. You look and you see, wow, the Mavs and the Clippers. I mean, imagine if you're the Clippers and you purposely tanked to play this Mavs team and they're playing you off the court. And there were some in the 76ers, we have all these glum Philly fans who thought the same thing. It's thinking Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, we have very minimal guard play to cover these guys. It's almost like they have the perfect mismatch against the Philadelphia 76ers. And yet this team went out there and they proved them wrong all 3 times, and we were riding high. And what happens? Joel Embiid gets injured. And that sucked the air right out of the room. Jim texted me when that happened. I was texting many people. And the minute that happened, it's like everyone sucked the air out of the room. And we didn't even know what the injury really was. That was the funny thing. We had no idea what the injury was. But let me tell you, these were the stats of Joel Embiid for the first 3 games. 24 points, right? So this is what the Sixers were losing out on. This is Joel Embiid's stats for the playoffs this year. You're shooting 63% from the field. 63%. 46% from 3. 70% from 2. Free throw percentage, 90%. And while he was only scoring 24 points a game, he was playing effective and efficient basketball and clearly allowing everyone else around the roster to pick up the missing pieces, to play with a flow, to Tobias is scoring a lot. The team had a rhythm, and Joel Embiid is like, I only need to score 25. I don't need to put the whole team on our back because we're operating at such an efficient and effective level. And like that, it was just taken away from us. And now, I'm sending emails to my friends about meniscus tears. This is what the 76ers have done to us as fans. They have turned us into fans riding high, justifiably, riding high, full of excitement, to hypochondriacs searching up meniscus tear syndrome, whatever you would call it, and trying to diagnose if you can play basketball or not with a few tears in your knee. However, after all of what I've just said, we were hyping ourselves up. We were getting ready to play well. We started playing well. We started taking care of a team with no problem. And then the injury. After all of that, after the terrible game by Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris after the injury, what did the 76ers do instead? And you got to give them credit for it. They showed up last night and they took care of business. Ben Simmons, triple-double. Tobias Harris, I think it was 28 points. Not Steph Curry. If only we had Steph Curry on the team. Why am I blanking on Curry's name? Seth. Thank you.
They're just so close.
I know.
Hard.
Seth Curry, Seth Curry scored 30 points. Those guys showed up, and I think it has a lot to do with Doc Rivers. Brian Windhorst of ESPN had written to this fact that on the bus ride home, the 76ers and Doc Rivers rallied the troops, and Joel Embiid rallied the troops, got them going, and you know what? It worked. And I guess the takeaway for me is Doc Rivers knows how to rally the troops, and we've got a good coach on our side because only great coaches, it's only round 1, but the way that they collapsed in game 4, that's when the Embiid injury happened, the way the team collapsed in game 4, couldn't score, couldn't win, missed crucial shots at the end, the hack a Ben situations going on, you start to really think as fans, is the 3-0 drop going to happen to us? And to Doc's credit, it's against an okay Wizards team, but you're without your best player, and they took care of business. And now we can look on to the Hawks. So I think we're going to talk about the meniscus tear, but I think, honestly, if you're a Sixers fan, you can't be too disappointed knowing that this team is winning, finishing out a series without Joel, when you compare it to what happened last year when Ben Simmons gets injured and they completely fall apart. Now, the team was different last year, but, man, we're in a different world, and that's what adding 3 or 4 different players really can do to the roster.
Tony, you are crazy. You're crazy to think to even have some small idea that the 3-0 thing was going to happen to the Sixers. In no way was I ever worried.
Jim. You were more confident than me.
I was way more confident.
I like to hear that.
I was never worried, even with Joel going down. Even in that fourth game when our starters were out and we had George Hill and Tyrese Maxey, all the backups in. I was so surprised to see them hanging in. It was a 4-point game, 2-point game. We were there was a chance that we were going to win that game without the starters. And then Doc starts putting the starters back in, and the scoring goes flat again, which was surprising in that fourth game. I was really surprised to see in the final 6 minutes, the starters were what kind of blew that fourth game win. The backups they were playing tremendous. So that was going into game 5. I was like, wow, if the bench just plays like this all the time, and to think how far we've come for 5 or 6 years, we didn't have a bench. We had no bench support to now. Even without Joel, we make it to the finals.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. Even without Joel, we make it to the finals.
I don't think we're making it past the Hawks without Joel Embiid.
Oh, no way.
Are we watching the same Hawks team? They play really, really well, and Clint Capella will have a field day against us if we don't have a center. Dwight Howard's not going to stay in front of Clint Capella the whole time.
We just beat a Hall of Famer and a reoccurring All-Star every year. Clint Capella does not scare me in any
Daniel Gallinari.
No.
And you got to admit, the pick and roll between Trae Young and Clint Capella is very reminiscent of the pick and roll between James Harden and Clint Capella. Trae Young is not afraid to shoot those far threes. Who's going to guard Trae Young? You're going to put Ben Simmons on him?
No, because you have to have Ben play the 5 like we did last time.
Okay, so then there's your problem. Who's going to guard Trae Young?
Here's
going to have
my
a field day.
Matisse Thybulle, first off. I think we have 3 defensive players that are tremendous that are going to start. Matisse Thybulle, Danny Green, and Ben Simmons.
Look how you've graduated on. I love how you've graduated on Danny Green. All of a sudden, he's a pivotal member of the team.
Oh, yeah.
Even though only a few months ago we were railing against the guy.
Listen, I already had my apology episode. I already said sorry.
Every week, it's just a new episode of Jim coming to the Tony confessional booth. And he comes and he says sorry.
Yeah, let's recall my baseball predictions of last year, all right?
Continue.
My point is, we have 3 really good starters that play defense. They're tremendous defensive players. They're the best defensive players anybody's ever seen.
They're the greatest.
They're the greatest. So I don't really have any worries about the Hawks. But that statement, the hypothetical that Joel Embiid doesn't come back, that doesn't scare me, especially because I know he's coming back.
Whoa! Who do you have with connections in the organization?
I don't need to reveal any of that, but I do know, looking at the signs, Joel was at pregame warmups for Game 5.
He was shooting around. I got confirmation from producer Sean P., who was at the game with fellow friend Sean McPherson.
Guess what?
And Justin Branco.
No leg brace either.
Whoa.
Great sign. Small tear. So they're saying it's a small tear. I wish they said it was a micro tear, but a small tear, that's nothing to worry about. The meniscus, you get blood flow to the meniscus. That heals on its own over time. So that's not a big worry. As long as it's not on like the lower 2/3 of the meniscus, which, again, it's a small tear. It's not a large tear. So he's going to be back. It's just when, you know?
Do you want me to read about the meniscus to our fellow listeners?
Yeah, if you want.
Okay, this is from healthline.com. Meniscus tears are the most frequently treated knee injuries. Recovery will take about 6 to 8 weeks if your meniscus tear is treated conservatively without surgery. The time varies depending on the type and severity of the tear, how long your symptoms persist, your lifestyle, or your age. The meniscus is a C-shaped band of cartilage that goes around the knee joint and cushions the junction of your thigh bone, femur, and shin bone, tibia. There's an inner medial meniscus and an outer lateral meniscus. Meniscus tears can occur at any age. Younger people, especially athletes, are likely to have a sudden meniscus injury. Older people are likely to have meniscus damage related to degeneration from wear and tear. Complex meniscal tears usually require surgery. I don't think we care about when is surgery required or not. Clearly, surgery is not required for Joel.
Yeah, it says further down in the article, conservative treatment is recommended for smaller tears, and you'll see that they'll inject steroids for 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how the pain is for him, the intensity of the pain. But also, here's the bad news: recovery time for a meniscus tear is like 6 to 8 weeks typically. But it's all about how he feels playing with it. That's why he went and did warm-ups on Game 5, just to see how it felt. My guess is he felt much better than what somebody else would have felt with a small tear. He was out there playing.
Because he's superhuman.
He was doing Dirk Nowitzki type single leg fadeaways. Like he's definitely much further along than anybody would expect. Is he going to play Sunday? I doubt it.
No way.
I doubt that he plays Sunday.
Meg O'Dowd in the chat goes, well, first of all, welcome back, Meg. But Meg O'Dowd in the chat goes, WebMD probably says he's dead. That one made me chuckle.
Classic.
So yeah, he's not. I don't think he's going to play Sunday. But Jim, I'm going to echo this point to you. I listen to ESPN, and they're very down on this. Very, very negative about this injury. I turn on Philadelphia media. I turn on 94 WIP. I turn on 97.5 The Fanatic. I turn on 97.3 ESPN South Jersey. And all of those guys, you name them, whoever they are, whatever DJ or sportscaster you want to name in Philadelphia media, they're pretty relaxed. I don't think a lot of them are that hyped up or that worried or freaking out about this injury compared to you turn on the Tony Kornheiser show or you turn on name another one, Coward. They're thinking the sky's gonna fall. This guy is unreliable. Oh, that Joel Embiid, he is a knee injury away from collapsing and combusting into a fourth dimension. See, we told you, you idiot Philadelphia fans, he was gonna get injured. And it's funny because those idiot Philadelphia fans, they're actually pretty cool, calm, and collected for the first time regarding an injury of a player.
Yeah, and look back to kind of what we were talking about 2 weeks ago, and we said, what's the likelihood of both Ben and Joel playing a full series together?
Right.
And we didn't get it in the first round, which is it's not surprising. We both kind of saw
Ben is much more durable than Joel, though, from an injury standpoint.
He does have that back injury every once in a while. The back will flare up or something. I guess maybe it's just because he's like 6'10" or whatever. But
yeah, height probably doesn't help there.
Yeah.
Jim, let's move on. So let's finish our Sixers talk with the Hawks series because we've kind of dabbled in it. And my first question for you, and you already said it, was going to actually be, at what point do we see Joel? So say, let's set a couple criteria for this what if situation. Joel Embiid is not going to get better, but he's capable of playing. Does that make sense? So
sure.
We're going to say he's not going to get in a worse state. He's not going to re-injure anything. He is now perpetually stuck at 80 to 85% ability for this upcoming series.
Sure.
However, depending on how much you rest him, he'll improve for the next series after that.
Okay.
So you know what I mean? So he's going to be 80% for this whole series, but if, say, you start him game 2, he's going to be at 90% for the Bucks, but if you start him game 4, he's going to be at 100%. Does that make sense? So there's going to be a return of benefit later on the more you sit him against this Hawks team. At what point do you bring him in then?
So, all right, so we get 2 games at home, right?
And that's for our first, we have home court advantage.
I bet you he doesn't play the first 2 games. He doesn't play Sunday, and then let's say the next game's on Tuesday. He's not playing Tuesday.
You just bank off the fact that your Sixers are going to be so strong at home that they could just close it out.
Definitely.
Okay.
Game 3 So we're gonna estimate Game 3 is what, Thursday?
So they have a game Sunday. I'm guessing a game Wednesday, and then probably a game Friday.
Oh, okay. So let's say, all right. So game 3 is Friday. So the injury happened on the 31st. So now we're looking at 11 or 12 days of recovery. That's almost 2 weeks. I feel good about him playing Game 3 on the road. I don't think he plays 36 minutes. I think he plays 24 or 28, something like that. I feel good about that. And I think maybe we come away with a 3. If we come away with a 3-0 lead, he plays the fourth game. If not, maybe he rests again. But I don't want to see the series go past 5 games. I'd rather them, win it 4-1, just like we did last time.
Yeah, I think he's going to come back game 2.
You think so?
I think they lose game 1. I think the Hawks. I mean, you saw what Trae Young did at Madison Square Garden. They'll play on the road. They're not scared to play you on the road. They did not have home court advantage against the Knicks, and they upset this Knicks team. And the Sixers team is still trying to figure out. The Hawks do give them problems sometimes this regular season.
Sure.
I still think the Sixers win it in either 5 or 6, but I think game 1, I'm a little worried that it's going to be a little bit of a bop on the nose, and that the Sixers are now thinking that they can play without Joel because they wrapped up the Wizards, but I really do think this Hawks team's a little bit more dangerous than what the Wizards were. I still think they win 6, but because of that, I think they bring Joel in early. I think they get bopped on the nose, they lose the game, probably close, really close, and then they bring Joel for game 2, just lock the game up, play 25 minutes, lock the game up. I'm talking like up 30 points by the third quarter kind of game for the team. And then they go on the road and they try it again. Can we win without Joel? And then he sits.
Yeah.
And then, can we win without Joel? I think that the pattern for this team will probably be, is he good tonight? Is he not good? He's going to be off, on, rather than off, on for the rest. I have a feeling that's how the medical staff for the Sixers have worked in the past, at least. On, off, not off for a long time and then on for the remainder. They like to test the waters a little bit more with the athletes.
I guess my thought is if you can get as close to a full 2 weeks, then the chances of him being like fully healthy and able to play for the rest of the playoffs is great. But again, it does depend on if they win or lose the first 2 games.
Yep.
So I can see it going. I agree with you if that's the case, if they lose game 1.
Right.
But,
and that's the thing. If they don't lose game 1, well, then you're going to send them game 2. I'm going to sit him as long as I can if I'm still getting wins.
Right. I actually, and I said this, I wrote this in the script for today. I really think that the Wizards were a tougher team for us. I think that with Lopez being so effective with his horrible...
That guy always shows up at the playoffs.
His
it's
horrible
insane.
hook.
I know.
It was so good. Alex Len in the first game surprised me a little bit. The Wizards are a very athletic team that I think they're going to get better over the years.
Rui Hachimura really impressed too. He shoots the ball really well.
I thought he was a great draft last year when they did it. So, yeah, that team is good. I think that they're going to be a lot better, especially if Russ can continue to play at the level that he plays at. He's getting older, but you also have Bradley Beal that's kind of stepping into his own. So he's only going to get better next year too, I think.
John Daniels goes, "Let's go Sixers." And Caitlin Reyes says, "Sounds like me." I don't know what sounds like her, but something sounds like her. Definitely not Joel Embiid. Yeah, no, I think this Hawks team's going to make it very interesting. But we'll see. Only time will tell. And it's a Sunday night. It's a Sunday afternoon game. So I'm going to go right from Formula One to Sunday game. Should be great.
I don't love the Sunday afternoon games. I feel like that's reserved for baseball.
I think it's usually reserved for football.
Ooh.
In certain times of the year. You know what I don't like? When they hide us on NBA TV. You know, I'm still watching the local broadcasts, but we had to say goodbye to Mark and Allah last round. I think the rest of the games are only shown on national television.
Oh, so as soon as we get to semi...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so we had to say adieu to Mark and Allah. But I think I was actually... No, I think this is how I feel. I felt like it was total waste to put us on NBA TV. No one watches NBA TV. Very few people have subscriptions to NBA TV. I don't know why they were hiding us there.
They're
It's
just
kind
trying
of annoying.
to push it. They just want people to.
Yeah. Can't you do that with the Lakers? Come on.
But again, I'll repeat my point. 1 o'clock on a Sunday, you have the Phillies versus the Nationals and the Sixers versus the Hawks. What am I going to do? I'm going to have to choose the Sixers. Even though I love the Phillies, there's no doubt in my mind I'm going to watch basketball.
Yeah, why would you want to watch the Phillies take on the worst team in our division?
We're playing ourselves now, or?
What do you mean we're playing ourselves now? We're not the worst team in the division, Jim.
Oh, it feels like it.
We're second in the division still. You're acting like the sky's falling. We are second in the division now, and the only reason why the Mets are number one is because they got to sit for a full week, and that we're being ranked against a team that's about percentage rather than actual wins. That's my problem with this whole thing. This Mets team hasn't played the full schedule, and so we're doing it on win percentage. And if you have less on your denominator, you're gonna have more games at the end of the day, and that's just not right. That's not right. It should be based on how many games you played and how many games you've actually won, not your winning percentage. That's lame.
I am Chicken Little. The sky is falling.
How about you complain about the total win count rather than the percentage? But instead you want to think that they're the worst team in the division. When the Nats are clearly the worst team in the division.
We have nobody now. We have no bullpen. We have no fielders. We have nothing.
Maybe you can try out for the team.
Yeah.
Are they having tryouts?
They're gonna start doing that Invincible, open up public tryouts.
They should let us play wiffle ball on the field. Really show off our skills. You and Mash can draft a team.
I mean, I can switch hit. Put me up there. Put me in, coach.
Is right field more shallow for the Phillies? Yeah, it has to be.
I mean, it's a shallow park to begin with, so.
Not like Yankee Stadium.
I think when Bryce came from Washington to Philly, he was like, wow, I have far less ground to cover.
Even the National Stadium's not that big, though. I've been there.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's that much bigger. But I've heard that Citizens Bank is a little bit smaller.
Citizens Bank's only like 330 or something to right.
I could hit a golf ball out of Citizens Bank.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100% I could.
It's feet, so.
I know.
Yeah.
And I hit a driver like
200
yards. I could literally
yeah.
hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. They should do that, like
driving range at the
driving
ballpark.
range. It's like just to see what it feels like to hit something that far and like kind of get like a view of it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like some guys can't even hit a golf ball as far as those guys hit the baseball.
The baseball's so much heavier too.
It's like when they send it to
bat.
Right, when they send it to the second level, so you have that much more appreciation for it. Sheesh.
Oh, Caitlin in the chat says Embiid is unreliable. I think that's what she means by sounds like her.
Trae Young is going to be shown to be a fraud in this series. John Daniels. Wow, the Daniels brothers are really against Trae Young.
Yeah, the Hawks are nothing.
Interesting.
He's got horrible hair. Worst hair I've ever seen.
Jim, did you see that LeBron James walked out?
Yeah, Vection Knight and I were talking about that earlier.
Where are you here? So let's play this clip from LeBron James. This is his post-game talking about him after the game.
Kicked. I mean, it was just that simple. They got to whatever they wanted to get to in this game, and we got to be better, obviously, if we want to force a Game 7. So, obviously, a lot to learn from in this game, a lot to cover. See, what we got to do better going into Game 6. But, they pretty much just kicked our asses. I mean, it's nothing else really to say.
Yeah, there is not much to say for you, Mr. LeBron. But I think the funniest words actually came from Sir Charles himself. This is Charles Barkley talking about the Lakers.
The Lakers can't win this series. Forget about the championship. They can't win this series without street clothes.
I'm not even. You want to explain that?
I call him Anthony Street Clothes Davis because he's always in street clothes.
You ain't got to explain it, Chuck.
No,
I just said what I said. Dude, I was just trying to distance myself as far as possible.
Thank you, Chuck. Chuck is right. Would you be scared to say that about Anthony Davis if you were on national TV, Jim?
Not if I'm Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley does not care.
No, he doesn't. But, I mean, he is a legend in his own right, so I think he's allowed to get away with whatever he wants to get away with.
Evan Guerin goes, I agree with John D. Trey will be a problem, but will get locked up. We call that the penitentiary. I heard that the other day. I thought it was very funny.
I love Hack-a-Ben. That's like...
And then he hits when
that.
he hits the two in a row, people freak out. The stadium erupts. Wells Fargo, the lid blows off the top of the building. Always a good time. Okay, Jim. I think it's time to talk about Danny Ainge. We didn't even really want to talk about the Lakers that much because I just wanted to play those two funny clips. I wanted to hear Charles Barkley call Anthony Davis, Anthony Street Clothes Davis, because the guy, for those who don't get it, the guy's always injured, and so he's never in his Lakers jersey. He's always standing in the corner in his street clothes.
He is an issue for the Lakers, obviously.
He's the reason why they're not winning right now. They need him.
Yeah, they can't do it without him.
Nope. And then LeBron, for those who don't know, LeBron walked out of the off the bench and went right into the locker room, and then the media were just defending. I really don't care. I have no opinion about it. But they were all freaking out about it. Freaking out that, oh, he's leaving, it's not sportsman. It's, they shake hands at the end of the game. Not the end of the game. They shake hands with one another at the end of the series. You watch the Sixers against the Wizards. They go at the end of the non-elimination games. They just go right to the back of the locker room. And I think some of it had to do with the COVID protocol as well.
Also, players just hang out with each other now. It's not like before there would always be like, oh, this team, they don't really get along. Players all hang out now. I don't know. It's different. Yeah.
Well, look at with the Kyrie Irving thing. When he steps on Lucky. Lucky is the logo. Lucky is the cartoon mascot of the Boston Celtics, and he is the centerpiece of the basketball court. And Kyrie Irving stomped on the logo, which is a sign of disrespect. They do in the NFL all the time. And Danny Ainge went into the locker room and yelled at the Celtics, telling them, you got to go into the Nets locker room, and we got to do something about that. And they, not only him, Kevin Garnett said that was a problem, that they stomped on the logo. And that is also why they threw the water bottle at Kyrie Irving. Now, I'm not saying you should do the fan is got in trouble for a reason for doing that. You can't throw a water bottle at a player. However, I was just thinking about this. Ainge and even Garnett, who's only 10 years removed from the league, they're of a different breed. In 10 years, it changed drastically. These kids don't care because they're always changing teams. They're not in love with the program.
No loyalty.
Danny Ainge and Kevin Garnett, they die for the Celtics. It's insane. Paul Pierce, you name them. And when I heard that, and this is a good transition to Danny Ainge in general, when I saw that Ainge was that fired up, it was kind of crazy to see. And I think it goes more to your point, Jim, that these guys are, it's a little different these days. 100%. Jim, do you want me to read from the ESPN article for you?
I put it in there as a source if you wanted it.
I'll read it because I think it encaptures everything that's going on with the Boston Celtics. I'm just hoping this video doesn't play. Okay, this is it just says ESPN, but I believe, it doesn't say who wrote it. Okay, whatever. Here it is. This is ESPN talking about the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics announced Wednesday that Danny Ainge is retiring and coach Brad Stevens is being promoted to president of basketball operations. The Celtics will start a search for a head coach to replace Stevens and said Ainge will work with the team on the transition through the offseason. Quote, it was my decision, Ainge said at the news conference Wednesday. I don't know if there was a moment in time, but like I said earlier, I trust my instincts, and my instincts told me a couple months ago that it is time for me to move on, and that's what's best for us. That's what's best for the Celtics. Ainge, 62, said that he started thinking about the move when he had a mild heart attack in 2019, and he had said the last couple of years have been tough because of the pandemic. In the quote, in the bubble, and all the rules and scrutiny and protocols that we had to go through has not made the job as much fun, he said. The moves come a day after Boston's disappointing season came to an end in a loss to the Brooklyn Nets in Game 5 of the first round playoff series in Brooklyn. Stevens, 44, who has been head coach for the past 8 seasons of the Boston Celtics, has been described as worn down with coaching since the bubble and welcomed the chance to make the transition to the front office, sources told ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. Quote, I'm passionate about this group of people. I'm passionate about the team we have. I'm passionate about the people that work in our front office. I'm passionate. Oh, sheesh. Come on, man. How many times do you say I'm passionate about coaching staff? And that's who I've spent all morning with, said Stevens. I do think I have a good insight into our team as Danny now steps away. Quote, I'm excited for Brad, Ainge said. He was born for this. Jim.
He's not passionate about coaching basketball anymore.
Okay, Jim, let me ask you this question. Who are you going to replace Brad Stevens with, and do you think Brad Stevens has what it takes to be the president of basketball? Not the coach, but literally the general manager of the Boston Celtics.
So, I didn't think of a replacement, so give me a second on that front. I have other thoughts about whether he has what it takes to be GM. I think that Brad Stevens is one of the better coaches that I've seen in the last 5 years in the NBA. I think that what he's done to the Boston Celtics with certain players who, when they leave the Celtics, they don't look like the same player anymore because of his coaching ability. I find that he is a savant of basketball coaching. I think he knows how to make players better than what they really seem like in the NBA. And I think that the Celtics are really going to be hurting without him as a coach. Now, as far as replacement goes, who knows? Is Juwan Howard actually looking to leave Michigan? I don't think so. So I don't know who's directly in line. Kevin Garnett? Do you think Kevin Garnett wants to come back? Because I see all these old players coming back to their teams and stuff. So, or like Nash going to the Nets. Like, I don't know.
So let me throw a couple names out at you that I think are potential names. Sam Cassell, who has been in the rotation of coaching picks for a very, very long time.
Came up when the Sixers were looking for coaches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kevin McHale, a Boston Celtic who has coached in the past.
And he needs to stop broadcasting, so not a bad choice.
Why does he need to stop broadcasting?
Because every time the Sixers play the Celtics, it's just, it's just horrible.
Okay. Yeah, I understand what you're saying there. Let me name you another name. Chauncey Billups.
Okay.
Let me name you another name. Doc Rivers.
I don't like that.
What? You don't think that's a possibility?
No.
Trade so. Doc Rivers for a player. We'll take Marcus Smart. Here's Doc Rivers.
I don't think that no, that makes no sense. After we win a championship, you keep the coach.
Oh, you're saying that we're going to win a championship. Oh, that makes so much more sense. I'm trying to think if there's any other names that are... Oh, this is the guy who I go with. Jason Kidd.
Okay, so I thought of Kidd when I brought up the Nets just a second ago.
You don't need to play for them to be the coach. Honestly, I think it would be better if you bring in a guy who wasn't a player for you.
I think Kidd is a much better NBA development coach. You know, they have these development coaches that kind of work with players one-on-one. Like, what's his name? Yeager for Embiid. Mm-hmm. Dave Yeagers or whatever. Yeager. Right. He's a development coach, basically. So I think Kidd would be better off in that sort of role. I don't know about as a head coach. I know a lot of players did not like him as a head coach. Giannis
swore by Jason Kidd, though.
Yes, they worked together well, and that's why I think Kidd made Giannis better. But there was other players on that team that you have to focus on, right? And that's part of the problem of being a coach. You can't just focus on the star.
I would. It's a star-driven league. Yeah. I don't really think you could focus on anyone else but the star.
I'll say that to Brad Stevens. He didn't always just focus on the star.
Now, here's a hot take for you, Jim, and let me know if you disagree or not. I think, and Mike from Rhode Island disagreed a little bit with me, but I said this. I think Ainge, too many times did Ainge mess the roster up. And by mess the roster up, I mean, we brought these guys in, they're leaving now. We have these guys, let's flip them for a pick. Oh, let's flip this guy. We're going to trade this guy. We're going to have that much more cap space, and then this guy's going to do like this thing marginally better for us. Ainge was constantly tweaking, which is required to get better. I understand. But I need guys who are tweaking in the sense that, oh, we had 2 people leave. I need to bring 2 guys in. Let's sign this guy. Let's trade this guy. But Ainge is like, Isaiah Thomas is our guy. Flip him for Kyrie Irving. Flip him for this. Flip him for that.
Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, you're flipping your top guys. The guys who are going to be your. You need some form of synergy between your team.
Yeah.
And I thought that Ainge flipped it around too much.
I feel like every season when we look at the rosters and everything, when the season starts, we go, oh my God, the Celtics look like a completely different team again. Like I agree. I think every year it seemed like they were just changing something. Yeah,
and it was well past the, we're trying to get marginally better every year. And when you have a big move, it's like, yes, we're going to make that big move. But I don't think it really worked out. And then you have a lot of players who don't want to go to Boston. It's just plain and simple. Anthony Davis did not want to go to Boston. LeBron James would never go to Boston. Kyrie Irving wanted to get out of Boston.
Here was my suggestion.
And that doesn't help either.
For the Celtics. Make Brad Stevens GM coach.
That's too much work. The guy's already burnt out. He just said it in the article. He's not. I don't disagree that that's a good move. I just don't think he agrees to it.
Well, or have something in place like the Elton Brand Brett Brown thing, where people weren't sure whether Brett Brown was actually acting as the GM or not. Like, have somebody that's going to follow Brad Stevens' moves or whatever, maybe as a coach or as a GM. But I just think I think Brad Stevens needs to have a hand in both, in both decisions.
Yep. So out of all those coaches we've named, we're going to wrap up this segment because we still have, I want to talk about we're going to do a new segment called, we haven't named it yet, but me and Jim are going to pick our favorite series so far, our favorite first round matchup, and then we're going to talk about the fans, and then we're going to talk about Coach K, and we got to talk about the Phillies. Oh, we got a lot to talk about. But Jim, which one of the coaches do you like the most out of the ones we were brainstorming for the Celtics? I think for me, it's between McHale and Jason Kidd.
I like that. I think when Kidd came up in my head after I was running through it, I think Jason Kidd.
There we have it. Excellent. Let's go on to our new segment, Jim. In this segment, we haven't named it yet. You came down with a few names. You wanted to call it the Super Showdown segment, the Peaked Playoff Picks. I like that one. Tony and Jim's favorite series. Let's call it Tony and Jim's favorite flavors. Our favorite flavors of the playoff series.
That's awesome.
In this segment, we are going to pick one of the games that we liked. So, for example, I'll say, I really like the Hawks in the next series, and this is why. I'm hoping Jim has a pick in his mind already. Jim, do you have a pick in your mind?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Jim. This is our new segment, Tony and Jim's favorite flavors of the playoffs. Jim, what is your favorite flavor, and what was your... Hold on 1 second. Let me prop everything up. What was your favorite series?
I'm going with the Clippers and the Mavericks.
Oh.
Right out of the West. Here's my reasoning for it.
Okay.
So, we start that series, right? First off, it's still going on. It's 3-2. Mavericks are up. I picked the Mavericks over the Clippers last week on the show. Just saying.
You did.
We start that series, and I believe Mavericks go up 2-0.
Yes.
And we're like, you and I are both saying, wow, looks like Doc was not the issue in LA. And then all of a sudden, the Clippers start winning some games back. And now it's a 3-2 series. And, I think if the Clippers win this Game 6, there's no way that they lose Game 7. I think that they win out. I actually feel that way about all the 3-2 series. I feel if they win a Game 6, they're going to win Game 7 because they're going to ride high on the momentum. I always feel that way with 3-2s. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed that series. I like Luka a lot, but, if the Clippers storm back to win and prove me wrong, I mean, it's just a fun series. It's a fun series to see it go 7 in the first round.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, so you want my pick now?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, this is Tony's pick. I'm going to stay in the Western Conference because I agree that there are some great games out there. I'm picking the Lakers and the Suns. Another 3-2 series.
Yeah.
And why am I picking it, Jim? Good question. I am picking it because the downfall of LeBron James, Anthony Street Clothes Davis, Chris Paul, what doesn't build the legacy that helps build his legacy, which is well regarded as one of losing a lot in the playoffs and health injuries, and the emergence of Devin Booker, who's played insane. And Mikal Bridges is playing really well. He makes the Sixers look like idiots for passing him up.
Which we commonly do.
Oh, yes. It's just a fun series. Nothing in the East is exciting me. And I like seeing the underdog up 3-2. And I disagree with you in the fact that I think the Mavs are going to close this series out against the Clippers. And I think the Suns are going to close out the Lakers. It's time for new teams to emerge. The Denver Nuggets emerged last year. It's time for these newer guys we've always been talking about, these younger guys, to finally come out and be the guys. And that's what we're getting in Luka, and that's what we're getting in Devin Booker, and I'm really glad to see it.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I do think the Mavericks are going to win the series. I just think if they lose Game 6, the Clippers have a really good shot at winning 7.
Yep.
Same thing with the Lakers. Lakers, same thing. If they win tonight, then I'd be a little worried for the Suns.
Yes. Okay, Jim, let's move on to our next segment. We're talking about the fans and how they've behaved. So, for those who didn't know, we had a water bottle thrown at Kyrie Irving. Someone spit on Trae Young. That was a Knicks fan spit on Trae Young. We had a Sixers fan dump popcorn on Russell Westbrook. We had Utah Jazz fans screaming derogatory terms at Ja Morant's family. And we had a Sixers fan tackled on the court. No.
Wizards fan.
Tackled on the court.
Yeah.
Jim, have we forgotten how to act as human beings? Did we finally let everyone out of their house and they're just acting berserk? It's insane.
I think if you take this to Philadelphia, it's not a big deal, right? We've had our instances of fans,
the popcorn thing,
fan behavior not working so well.
The popcorn one is the least
egregious.
Correct.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think it's,
and that's right up the alley of what Philly fans do.
Again, like Russell Westbrook is he's just a hothead, and like part of why he's paid the money that he's paid is because he's an entertainment figure, and his reaction was it was the same reaction of an entertainment figure anyway. So I don't know. I don't think that was a huge deal. That guy could have knocked over popcorn by accident. I'm sure they caught him actually physically dumping it on him, but I don't know. It wasn't that big of a deal compared to spitting, throwing a water bottle, and the derogatory terms.
And running on the court.
I think he tried to slap the backboard, that guy.
Yeah, he did. He tried to. Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't do it, though, I think. He's probably a little too...
That was awesome live in the game to see the security guard just like...
Oh, yeah, because they couldn't cut away like they do in like baseball games. Like they cut away to commercial when that happens.
Yeah.
Not that one. He got out there. Yeah, because it's like they want to de-incentivize. Like people try to get on television by running out on the field of play, so they try to minimize the exposure as much as possible. Jim, let's move on to Coach K retiring.
Crazy, thank God.
What?
Dude, before I went to St. Joe's, I was a huge UNC fan.
Yeah, but why can't you be a Duke fan? They're also in North Carolina.
Because Duke is a huge rival of UNC.
I know, but like where... See, that's why I just don't get it, man.
What didn't you get about it?
Like, what makes you pick UNC over Duke? They're both in North Carolina.
As a kid, I mean...
Like, Duke's the superior program.
That sucks to hear. But, I don't know.
It's like Duke has the better history of winning and culture.
I was born in North Carolina, so like the state...
I know, but Duke's in North Carolina.
The state school always screams out to the person, like, I don't know.
So all those Villanova fans should really be Penn State fans.
Yeah, they should.
Not the same sport though.
No.
It's a little different. I will agree. Penn State, you're a fan of Penn State for the
Plus,
football.
I love the Tar Heels. Like I love that name, and I love the actual Ram mascot.
I'm gonna admit the Blue Devils a little ugly.
Yeah, it's not a great mascot.
It's a little ugly. There's a reason why they always have just the D and not like the Tar Heel, like how UNC. Like you go to a game, it's like the Tar Heels in the middle of the court.
Exactly.
They don't have the Blue Devil in the middle of the Duke court.
Now NC State, there's a case for that too. The Wolfpack, that's a pretty nice school. I like.
Yeah,
them
but they're
a little bit,
nowhere
too.
near the
prestige.
Yeah, none of those teams are near Kansas or Kentucky. Yeah, but I wanted to play. I don't know why I blanked out. I had like
Let's get to Coach K, man.
I had a brain fart. I don't have a clip from Coach K. I have a clip from Bob Ryan on the Michael Kornheiser show, the Tony Kornheiser show. Because Jim, this comes and hits right home to what we've been talking about at the 70. My brain is getting fried. Goes right into the heart of what happened to St. Joe's basketball. So let's play the Bob Ryan with Tony Kornheiser.
Williams stepped down. The immediate assumption among people who follow these things was that Coach K and Boeheim will soon follow, for the simple reason that the landscape that they have known is changed forever in a negative fashion. Not just the name, image, and likeness thing, which it's the transfer portal, the transfer madness, the transfer insanity, the transfer this despicable thing that's going on, that's shredding college basketball, is too much for them to handle. They don't need this at this age. They just don't need it. What it means? What it means is you're 24/7, 365 recruiting, i.e., stealing and poaching other people's players,
That's right.
and they are stealing yours every second of every day. This is not a life you enjoy living.
Who does that sound like, Jim? Where did that happen to?
It happened to St. Joe's Hawks.
With what player?
I forget
Jordan
his name.
Hall.
Jordan Hall. There we go. Yeah.
Stealing and poaching players. That's insane. And it is destroying college basketball.
I don't know how it can exist this way.
It can't. They literally have to stop next year.
Tensions are going to run way too high.
You literally have theft going on.
Yeah.
Players, Jim, remember you and me couldn't even accept a snack or a hat on our official visit.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yet these guys are stealing each other with money and dark money and all this stuff.
Cars.
Houses for families. Insane.
Yeah.
Shams Charania just tweeted out, Jazz guard Mike Conley Jr. has a mild right hamstring strain and will be evaluated before Game 1 of the West semifinals.
He is not going to play.
No, he is not going
No,
to play.
hamstrings. Same thing with Harden. I think Harden still isn't right yet. I'm just saying.
Nope.
Tony, I have a bold prediction for the week before we wrap up.
Okay, what is it?
My bold prediction. So we have 3 games tonight, right?
Yes.
At the time of this podcast recording, we have 3 games to play.
Yep.
My prediction is that they all end tonight.
Okay.
All 3 games, the 3-2. That's the Mavericks, Nuggets. Oh, wait, sorry. Yeah, Mavericks, Nuggets, and the Suns.
Yeah, I felt bad for Damian Lillard. Scored all those points, couldn't wrap up the Nuggets. And so you have I agree with all those picks. I think that's all going to happen tonight.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
And it's a shame for Dame, but you know what? He's a loyal player, and that's what we've talked about as a rarity now. Like Joel Embiid, Damian Lillard, loyal players. I don't think that he'll ever win a ring, unfortunately, because he's such a loyal player, and they'll never bring anybody to Portland other than him. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It's a shame, but it's not their time. It's Jokic's time. The Joker is going to try and ride the wave all the way to the finals.
Ain't that the truth? Jim, thanks for coming in today's show. That was a good point to end on.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and for all those listening to us on YouTube, make sure to subscribe while you're still here and double-click the notification bell. That way you get notified every time we go live. Follow us on Twitter at Tonys_takes. That way you get notified and get updates based on when the show is going to record and the topics we'll be talking about. Email the mailbag, tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. Once again, that's tonystakes.1851@gmail.com. Email the mailbag to have your takes and opinions read on the show. Finally, follow us on Apple Podcasts or subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star written review, and it will be read out loud on the show. Just search Tony's Takes in Apple Podcasts, and the lovely logo that you have known and come to love will pop up, and you'll know that you're in the right place. And I'm just going to say it one more time, Jim, because I'm a courteous guy. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, it was a good one, and I do appreciate everyone tuning in today. Let's hope that our 76ers go out there and kick some Atlanta butt, and I think they will do that. Let's all hope that Joel Embiid gets healthy and is able to play good games. And until then, we will see everyone right here next Thursday to recap everything that is 76ers basketball. You've been listening to Tony's Takes live on YouTube. We look forward to speaking to everyone next week right here on Tony's Takes.
The premier sports talk radio, it's Tony's Takes.
Here we go.